Welcome to the Lucentlands podcast. We have identified the need for a platform where industry leaders and innovators in the agricultural sector can share their stories and inspire others. We hope you enjoy listening to this as much as we enjoyed speaking to these people. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
There.
Oh, we're good.
Good.
Oh, thank you for making time to come and talk to us.
Of course. I'm very honored.
Oh no, honor is all ours. It's the first famous person we're interviewing.
Oh, please. I am not famous.
Yes, you are. Want to introduce me?
Yeah, I'm Dewald and this is Louise, Brodie.
Hi there.
She's my business partner in Lucentlands, and yeah.
Okay. Well, I love what you guys are doing. I took a quick look at it and seems like you've got some good stuff going.
Yeah, we love it. We really do.
It really helps if you love what you do. You jump out of bed energized in the morning and you get to it. So that's great.
Yes, absolutely. If it gets you up in the morning, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. Is our audio okay on your side?
Yep, I can hear just fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's all good. Perfect.
100%.
Okay, good.
Okay, right. So there's a lot of people that know who you are and that follow you on social media now. But I think for those that don't, please tell us who you are.
Okay, well, I'm Kaitlyn Thornton. I am a 4th-generation apple and pear grower out of North Central Washington. I am currently studying abroad in Switzerland, but I am pursuing a degree in marketing out of Washington State University, and then I plan to go back into the fruit industry and see what I can do.
Fantastic.
Exciting. You certainly sound very motivated to go back into the fruit industry. So it's obviously a family business and the passion runs deep there for you.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that growing up in the fruit industry, I've definitely seen all the downsides and I'm still not deterred. So it must be the path for me.
So it's an informed decision.
Yes, very, very informed.
Great.
So how long have your family been on we call them farms, you call them ranches. How long have the family been growing fruit?
Okay, well, so my great-grandfather is actually who came up to Okanagan County is where I'm out of, and he had about 100 acres, he and my great-grandma, and then they had, I can't remember, 7 or 8 kids, and they had about 100 acres of apples and some cattle as well, and that's what he focused on, and then they also built a warehouse in the 40s, and packed apples out of there, which was really cool, under the Happy Valley Ranch and Bright Vale names, which we still have those old apple box labels, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the kids there, including my grandfather, had experience working on the orchard and packing fruit and, very involved. And then I don't know how much of a backstory you want, but
please do. We've got
Kaitlyn, we're loving it. Keep going.
Okay. Well, of course, Great Depression hits and go through all of that. Still continue to farm and keep going. Very small community. And then my grandfather got drafted in World War II, and he became a combat medic. And through the GI Bill, became a medical doctor and stayed about 40 to 60 miles east of us in another small town of Republic. And he just continued his passions in the medical career, but also kept a bit of land and would come on weekends and work on the farm and would bring my dad along with him. And that kind of instilled that love of farming in my father. And my father, after not enjoying college so much, but still managing to graduate, decided that he just wanted to be on the farm. And through family dispute, family farming, we had lost quite a bit of acreage within the family. And so he started out with about 23 acres with my mother. And then they built it up to now about 440 acres.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That'll take some doing.
It takes a lot of gambling, is what we should say.
Yes, farming is pretty close to gambling a lot of the time.
Yes, exactly. It's like you're scared, but you got to keep making moves. Is kind of what my dad has said.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so and after you've studied your marketing degree now so what took you to Switzerland? Why particularly there?
Honestly, so my older siblings, I have an older brother, Tyler, an older sister, Claire, and I have a younger brother, Joseph. And my older siblings both enjoyed experiences studying abroad. My brother went to Italy, my sister went to Scotland, and they were like, you're never going to have another time in your life where you're going to experience another culture or be abroad for that amount of time. And I was like kind of dragging my feet because I'm like, I have all this momentum going. I've got my social media stuff. I'm making advancements in the fruit industry. Like, this is my comfort zone. And then I realized, hey, I can't get comfortable. I gotta keep growing. And my dad, he was like, I'm all for it. Like, I went all over the world when I was younger, and it builds so much perspective in you, and you're gonna make so many connections. And I'm really thankful that I did. I was looking into, since I graduate this fall, I wanted like a program that was an easy transfer of credits and a country that could speak, for the most part, English.
Yes.
And and I came across this program working with Caesar Ritz colleges here in Switzerland. They are partnered with Washington State University. And so I came here, and it's really awesome because there's about 150 students here from over 66 different nationalities, I believe is what I was told.
Cool.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah. And it's in the top 6 hospitality schools in the entire world, which I know I'm a marketing person, but you can learn marketing stuff from literally any industry. And so I've been learning a lot about hospitality and making connections in that realm and just kind of learning their business side.
Oh, cool. And what did you study at Washington? What was your major there? Also marketing?
Yes.
Okay. And when you went to study that, or when you selected to go study marketing, did you have that in the back of your mind when going back to the farm afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, I started really growing my love for the apple and pear industry, especially when I was about 16. I started my own business called Kate's Crates. And then around 17, 18, I started posting on social media and started that trajectory. And I kind of just decided, like, my dad was like, I was thinking like, maybe I'll just get an ag degree. He's like, no, like, you're really good at marketing. Like, you have an understanding of consumers and producers, and you can really bridge that gap through what you're doing. And you have really good insight. And I gained a lot of experience. I took advantage of my teenage years. And so I kind of just decided marketing is a good route for me. I can learn more of the business side of things and make connections in that space. And it's proved to be beneficial for me. And I love all things marketing now.
Oh, that's fantastic, because we've seen it many times that a lot of the growers that we work with, they are fantastic farmers and they've got a great product, but they can't sell it. They're not salespeople. And even if you go back to, you can be a doctor or an engineer. If you don't know how to run a business, it's going to be difficult.
Absolutely. I've seen it time and time again. Farmers are not usually the best business people. And so I felt like that's how I could add value to our operation. Is I want to continue to expand. I am the succession plan. And so maybe bringing some new and fresh ideas, as well as having connections and a greater source of ideas as well.
So your social media journey, it's quite incredible what you've achieved. And obviously that must be done with a lot of passion, and there must be times that you feel a little bit tired and you don't feel like doing it, but you do it nonetheless. Tell us a little bit about some of the interesting things that have happened along the journey.
But I believe there was one video that went completely nuts. Or was there more?
There's been a few. I mean, social media is very up and down, and that's something that it takes a lot of time for creators to get used to. It's like you'll have videos that don't do so well, and you have videos that like really pop off. But I'm kind of used to that because of farming. So I was kind of already like, whatever, like I'm just kind of doing this because if it makes an impression on 5 people, I'll be happy. And so because I grew up, doing chores on the farm, but I wasn't really as immersed into like the decision makings and why we do this. It was kind of like, there's apple and pear trees, we do this, but I didn't really understand why. It was just kind of part of the process to me. And so I started asking questions, and I would ride around with my dad everywhere. And he's like, oh yeah, we do this because the apple tree, is this way, or this is how new varieties come to be, or whatever. And I'm like, this is cool stuff. Like, I was at this age where I was like, that's cool. I think other people would be interested in that. And being aware of, I had gone out on marketing trips for a new apple called Sugar Bee that we had started to grow. And I was seeing like the real time, what people's perceptions of tree fruit farming was, and the questions that they had, and their real thoughts. And then also through my business, I was doing direct sales. And even in a community where it's so ag heavy and there's orchards everywhere, there's still so many misconceptions. Mm-hmm. And so by taking those ideas and then growing up with social media, I know how to present them in a way that is effective and will grab the attention of people and keep them watching. And so just playing around with that, the throttle and brake of all of that, it's done well enough for me.
And for the business, for your farming, has it increased sales by any chance?
Personally, like, we're not selling direct. I would like to eventually. I mean, I've got such a wide audience from all over the world that I'm just saying, here are the varieties we grow. We take it to a warehouse, they pack it, and they ship it. If you want to support families like myself and others, because I'm not the only grower of this variety, look for this. And the feedback I've gotten, which I'm just kind of going for an overall impression on apples and pears and cherries, I've done some features on. Okay. But it's just the way people go to the produce section and what they look at. What do they see when they look at that fruit now? And I've had so many DMs of people being like so excited because they found some variety that I had talked about. And I'm like, I can't guarantee that we actually grew that, but there's farmers all over the place, just like my family. And that's what you're supporting. And also people are like, they look at fruit and they're like, I think of you every time I see apples. And I'm like, this is awesome, because I think that's what really connects people to their produce, is that story behind it.
Absolutely.
And they have a sense of trust because they feel like they know where it's coming from more. And that's kind of what my overarching goal is with all of this.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It's important because
sorry.
That's fine. It's very important to bring that story home to the consumers, because when you push your trolley down the grocery store aisle and you just grab something off the shelf, it's anonymous. You don't know where it comes from. You don't know what it's like. But if you know where it comes from and it comes with pride to you, for you to enjoy, it really makes a huge difference. And I mean, we all know about Washington apples. It's got such a well-known international standing and status. So it's wonderful to have someone like you out there saying, this is what we do. This is families like ours. It's really cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I totally agree. And especially, I mean, we've all faced the consequences of COVID and supply issues and costs going up for us, whether it's labor or just inputs as like diesel. Those prices have to go up, and it's doable if you make the consumer, you let them understand why it's going up and what their dollar is going towards. And I feel like there's just been a lot of mistrust created by media. And so we just have to step up and combat in the same way. You got to fight fire with fire sometimes.
And be real. Just this is who we are. This is what we have to do. If you want apples, unfortunately, it's going to cost us to produce them.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so what other crops do you grow? Just apples, pears, and you mentioned cherries. What else have you got?
So we personally, like commercially, grow. We're about 40% apples and 60% pears.
Okay.
And then personally, like I've gone to different farms to see how cherries are grown because we are a big cherry region. We grew cherries for about a year, and then we decided this is not for us. This is very, very stressful. Like this is not our game. My dad always says, don't try to play another man's game, basically. So we pulled out of that. But I also have interest in soft fruit. So this last year I planted some peach trees and nectarine trees. And then I actually started with apricot sales because we had fruit that was going to drop. And my dad's like, you can sell it if you want to. And kind of took off from there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Apricots is not something that's very popular. In South Africa, the people make jam, or what you guys call jelly, out of apricots, and that's probably the most apricots is being consumed in South Africa is that way.
And dried fruit.
And dried fruit, yes.
And dried fruit, yes, absolutely. That was an interesting thing because we had always grown up. That was just kind of those like about 12 trees, 15 trees, just for the kids. We would all like pick them one day. We'd have a crew help us. We'd pick them and then pack the fruit and then sell it at a bulk price to a local grocery store. And when it was my turn, I was like, well, I grew up with Facebook Marketplace and I feel like I could access more of like a direct sale and, make a little more profit margin. So I experimented with Facebook Marketplace and I sold, and I would offer like meetup and delivery sales because I had just got my license. And I offered them about 22-pound boxes for a set price. And it was attracting more of the the moms and people who can and stuff like that. So it worked out for me. My dad bet me, he's like, if you sell 20 boxes, I'll be impressed. And then the first year I sold 44 boxes and now I sell out every year. So I got to plant more.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of background about us and where we're from. So we are in the Western Cape of South Africa, Western Cape Province. It is a Mediterranean climate area. So in our area, we produce a lot of apples and pears, also grapes and olives and apricots and wine. So it's very much like kind of all the stuff that they would be growing in somewhere like Italy or France. So we really do get to see apples up close and deal with apples and film them and talk to people about them. So we really found a connection with the amazing stuff that you were putting out, and that's what made us contact you.
Oh, thank you so much. And I love that you actually have the hands-on experience with apples and pears. I'm learning so much about South Africa because I guess sometimes, and I've just learned this on the study abroad trip, is America, we just have a lot going on and we forget to pay attention to other people. And like my best friend that I've made here, she's from South Africa, and we're actually starting a marketing firm together focused on agriculture because we are experienced in social media and then also have knowledge of agriculture. And she's taken a lot of interest now in agriculture in South Africa. And I had no idea that you guys grow such a wide spectrum of things. And she's shown me videos and stuff, and I was looking at your guys' things, and it's gorgeous there. Oh my goodness, what beautiful growing regions.
We're waiting for you to visit.
But just on that subject, South Africa is the second biggest producer of citrus in the world.
Yeah, I had no idea. I don't know what rock I was living under, but yeah.
Well, this is a thing about the United States. What we gather, and we've been in California last year, it's like a world in one country. So to not look beyond the borders you can understand it. Yes,
it's very easy to not look further than your own country if you're an American. From what I've gathered, but we were blown away by the things that we saw in America. And like I said to Louise, there's so much stuff that gets done different there. And there's so much stuff that we do different that's actually better from our experience as to the way it was done over there. But yes.
We can absolutely always learn from each other. I've been fortunate enough to have gone to quite a few farm tours for the amount of time I've spent here. just in Switzerland and in Germany. And then next weekend, I'll be going to Italy. And then maybe in the near future, I'll go to South Africa.
That would be wonderful.
Just the mentality of farmers is universal, I find, which is really cool. You can sit down and relate over the same things. And we have the same problems, and we're always looking to each other for new ideas. But it's also looking at things like Europe. There's a lot less land, so you have to maximize that land. Sometimes we take for granted how much land we have in America. And I feel like we could do a little bit better job of being more efficient with that land. And I see a lot, like full efficiency that they can here in Europe. And I think that's super interesting.
Yeah, one of the things that we really noticed in California is that everybody was talking about this big drought that I believe they had now, that they've flooded away. But there was nowhere really that we could see that there was water conservation being applied. We saw some drip systems in the vineyards and some in the orchards, but they were still using flood irrigation. There was no overhead netting. The dams weren't lined, so they're probably leaking as well. So it was very eye-opening to us. That.
Oh, absolutely. How long were you in California for?
About 2 weeks.
That's awesome. Yeah, California is a huge ag state.
Yes, it was very interesting for us to see all of that.
And talking about how people are so zoned into, when we went to Los Angeles for 2 or 3 days, the people living in Los Angeles didn't know what went on 2 hours further over the mountain in terms of agriculture.
I know we face the same issue with Washington State. And I mean, Seattle, that's what everyone thinks of when they think of Washington. And sometimes people who live in Seattle, that's all that they think of in Washington. They know that there's like that whole other side of the state, but like, what is there? There's just a bunch of country folk, but like, we help the economy so much. It would be nice to like have a little more awareness and a little bit of pride in that. I mean, I think that we look at what Seattle area has to bring as far as export and having the good access to the sea there. I wish there was a little more support of like, hey, we've got all these farmers and they're rocking it over there and they're making all these advancements, but I don't think people care enough or they're not getting that information. And they see that a lot in California. And I don't know if you guys face that same issue with more urban areas versus agricultural areas.
Yes. From where we live, we're about an hour outside of Cape Town, downtown Cape Town. And the nearest big town from us is a town called Paul. And when we go to Paul, it's 40 minutes and we're there. If we tell people in Paul we live in Worcester, they say, oh, but that's far away. Because there's a mountain between us. And,
oh my goodness.
And the same with Cape Town. It's if you say to people in Cape Town that you live in Worcester, it's like you're
in another state.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's a thing it's the thing with agricultural people, the rural lifestyle that agriculture offers or requires really does not appeal to city people. It's just too foreign and too strange for them and too hick. And too in the country. Yes. So it's not even something that they can consider. They don't want to know about it.
Well, they want to have a little place where they can go on weekends, and relax and get some fresh air, and then they actually see it's quite a bit more work than just sitting on your porch and drinking coffee.
Oh, it's so true. But I think in America we're seeing a lot of shift, even from COVID, of people being curious about that rural lifestyle and wanting to move. We're seeing a lot of people move to Montana. And I mean, we make jokes about it, but it's a reality that these people who don't have that experience are coming to live in these spaces. And what could that do to that area? And so it really is important to educate these people because we can gladly have them come to these areas, but we want to make sure that they're a positive impact on our communities instead of taking away from the special experience it is to grow up in those areas or to live in those areas.
I'm a big fan of Yellowstone, the series, and for some reason it's not available on South African TV channels. I watch it via a streaming service, and it's one of the. It's exactly that. But I think that's doing a very good education, even between the violence and the story and all that, as to why people should don't just move to the country if you don't understand what's going on.
Yes. It's like coming into a whole different habitat, but it's true. Like what you're saying, that's starting a conversation.
Yes.
And that's like sometimes the hardest part. And so you've got people that have generated interest, and now I want to see more, and it's happening, of more of the actual ranchers, the cattle people standing up and saying, like, this is exactly, like, these are similarities that we have in the Yellowstone show. This is questions you might have from this scene. This is what we actually do. It's the conversation has started. We just got to keep it going, right?
Yes,
indeed. In the one of the videos I saw that you put out, it was obvious that you were studying and that you went home to the farm. So that was really cool. And your university, is it Washington State University?
Washington State, yeah.
Okay, so I did a little bit of homework and came upon cosmic crisp apples, which were bred there. So that's quite an interesting thing, that those apples were bred by your university.
Oh, it's so cool. I'm very proud of Washington State as an agriculture school. They've got a great ag program, and especially the tree fruit side. They've definitely lost a lot of interest in the ag side, which is that's another project I want to ramp up more people to get
Good
interested.
for you.
But yes, Washington State, we produce cheese, actually.
Okay.
'Cause it's a dairy program at Washington State, and so students can make cheese, have experience with that, and then it's actually become a favorite amongst the student body and alumni. And now there's the Cosmic Crisp apple that has come out of, and the idea behind it was kind of to replace the Red Delicious apple. I don't think that's quite what it's going to do, but it's exclusive to Washington State plantings, and I think they're starting to open up into more global.
They are,
yeah.
because they're in South Africa as well. There's a company here called Top Fruit who manages intellectual property for different cultivars. And when I started Googling Cosmic Crisp, I realized they were right here under our nose as well.
And our previous podcast that we put out was that we interviewed Top Fruit, the people there.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
That's cool. I'll have to go check that out. Because we love Cosmic Crisp. We've got about 15 acres of it. It's been really exciting to watch the development of that. And I love being a young person in ag right now, because we're moving into the space of club apple varieties, and then varieties that are licensed like Cosmic Crisp. And it's really cool to see those brands really make statements to consumers.
So I'm curious, because you previously said that you don't pack your own fruit. You've got you deliver to a pack house and they distribute it from there. Does it get distributed under your own brand, or does it go in like a collective between a whole bunch of growers under a brand?
Yeah. So what we do on a large scale is we take all of our fruit, we put it on the truck, it goes to the warehouse. We take to Stamilt, Apple House, and Chelan Fruit, and from there they either have their own in-house marketing sales team, or they work with other sales and marketing desks. And then they're working with retailers, and it takes a lot of communication within, I don't know how exactly it is for you guys, but it takes a lot of communication to make sure that volume is being met for these different retailers, because they want to have consistency in their stores, and we want to make sure that we're making enough money. So if a warehouse has too many Granny Smith apples, my dad gets a call, hey, we only need about 200 bins of Granny Smith, take the rest of your stuff to another person. And then it kind of adjusts that way. So there's a lot of moving parts.
Yes. And in South Africa, what percentage of our fruit is sold locally and exported?
I'm a bit hazy on the numbers, but I do know that our market into Africa, Southern Africa, and the whole of Africa has grown in the last 20 years from negligible Most of our stuff goes to Europe and Middle East and Asia, but the African market is growing very rapidly because the Western Cape is the only area that really grows apples on a large scale in the whole of Africa. So
Wow.
it's quite an amazing market for us.
Man, that is
Yep.
really cool. And especially you guys being in a different hemisphere than we are, that's another opportunity.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And the only places that they grow them is places with enough cold units. And it's actually, in the whole grand scheme of things, it's like the head of a needle. So small it is, where all the
Wow.
apples are produced.
Okay.
So we're waiting to visit to show you. You come and
I
visit
would
us and we'll show you.
Oh my goodness, that would be so cool. That's what people are even saying, because I've been posting videos over here and they're like, you need a TV show where you go to like all over the world and see
a good
different
idea.
apples.
There's actually a girl that is in South Africa right now, Farm Babe or something like that.
Okay.
I think it's Farm Babe.
I saw that somewhere, yes.
I saw on Instagram, she came, there was a big agricultural conference in Johannesburg this past week, and she was one of the speakers there. And she's got a show of some sorts.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's
So there's
cool.
some
Maybe-
inspiration for you.
Yeah, I'll go check her stuff out. And especially having, I mean, now I know you guys, and then having my friend who has connections in South Africa. I feel like the more pressure that agriculture gets in America, we're seeing farmland being eaten up. We need to lean on each other and look at other options and work with other countries. I really think so.
Yeah, the difficult thing with South Africa is the amount of fruit that we produce is not is far too much for what we can consume in South Africa, and the growers get a better price by exporting it to other countries.
Yeah, that's we've definitely seen that as well. Just trying to keep the throttle, because I mean every year is different, right? You get such different volume amounts every year, and so it's a lot of communication.
Are exports growing in your region?
I think they were a couple years ago. I think it's gone down a bit. Just with like COVID happening, and then the economic situation, and then things going on in Ukraine. There's a lot of moving parts there, factors. I haven't been in close relations with sales desks right now, and to know that exact information, but I think that we aren't doing as much export as we did before.
Okay.
Yeah, the Ukrainian war really gave South Africa it dealt a very bad hand to us last year, especially on the apples, because Russia
Apples and pears.
Yeah, apples and pears is Russia and Ukraine is big markets for our apples and pears. So I believe there was at one stage there was a ship with how many containers on? Like 50 or 60 containers full of apples that had to be redirected somewhere else.
That's crazy. And that's the thing, is like once that fruit is grown and packed and stuff, there's nothing you can really do with it. It's got to move.
Indeed.
It's got to get into the hands of consumers. That's why it's like when I see fruit in the store, I'm like, wow, you've had an incredible journey, little apple.
Yeah.
Like,
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Do you guys also do long time storage on your apples and pears in
Controlled atmosphere storage.
Yeah, control.
Yes. Yeah, we have a lot of CA storage, just with the sheer amount of fruit that is produced in Washington. We're definitely like, we are always pushing, for our fruit to be packed first, because we don't get paid up front. It's after everything's been packed, right? And so we're like, if our fruit gets packed sooner, then we're going to get better returns. But we also realize, like, sometimes with growing conditions, this grower is going to have softer fruit. Their fruit is going to get pushed through quicker to help them out. And like our growing region, we're about 20 minutes from the Canadian border. So we naturally just have harder fruit that is going to last longer in CA storage. And so we have had end of the summer from the previous harvest, packing last bits of that, right?
Yeah.
Which is really cool that technology has come to be. And I mean, we're always worried that like if the fruit lasts too long in storage, that the taste isn't going to be the same. Yeah, it's a little bit different, but it's incredible for a piece of fruit that was picked 10 months ago to still be that incredible.
There's a new variety of pear that has just been released in South Africa. It's called Eden Gold. You don't know?
It's from Israel.
Yeah, from Israel. And
Really?
yes, and that we went to the open day where they presented it to growers in a test block, and they gave us pears that was put into cold storage, not even controlled atmospheres, put into cold storage for a year, and it was still crunchy and sweet.
Wow.
We ate one out of the box that had been stored for a year, and one off the tree, and there was very little difference. Incredible.
Wow.
Incredible. But I would like to ask you about your journey as educating people about apples and pears and other fruit. What has been one of your funniest stories that people have asked you about apples, or funniest experiences? I mean, there must be some.
Oh my goodness.
I'm putting you on the spot, but maybe there's something you can remember.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just talking. I got, and this is like the crazy opportunities that I get that I never thought I'd be able to, is like speaking at our horticulture convention, and I was talking about the comments that I've received, and it's really easy as a farmer, like we're like people like get a clue, but it's also like, oh my gosh, these are people's like real interpretations of what we do.
And it's not just one person. It's not just one person, it's many.
No, I mean, I get videos that'll have thousands of comments on them. And like one thing is like, I talked about wax being applied to apples. People think that we just slap wax on there just because like we want to make it pretty. Well, yeah, that there's some truth to that, but there's also replacing the natural wax that apples create. And people had no idea that apples produce their own natural wax or cuticle. And so people are baffled by that. And then some comments that I've received is like, oh, do you guys pick like every week? They don't know that we pick all of our fruit from in like a 2-month period, and then it's stored, and there's a lot of behind the scenes in that. And then also there's a lot of misinterpretations that during the wintertime farmers just kind of goof off and just sit there waiting for the next. No, we're very actively getting ready for the next season, and I'm showing people that like, yeah, this is the end of harvest. This is exciting for us, but then we're going to launch into pruning. We're fixing all the stuff that we broke during harvest. And so people that follow me really get that year-round journey, right? That people don't really see. It's not just us picking apples every day.
In South Africa, a funny thing, we always laugh that, well, our winters from end of May, June, July, August. In June, it's very difficult to get a meeting with anybody, because they're all out hunting, because that's our hunting season. So they've done with the grapes and the apples and pears and everything. So they closed the shop for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and they're out in the field.
Oh, exactly. Oh, absolutely. And I also think there's a lot of people don't realize how smart people in agriculture are. I mean, this is our livelihood. And so we're constantly making as many advancements as we can. And something I think that should be highlighted more is how many times during the wintertime, the winter months, the off season, quote unquote, we are meeting together to discuss these different things, or how can we improve? And we're always looking to take that next step, where I feel like a lot of people look at us as farmers and that we're still operating tractors. And, 100 years ago, we were still operating tractors, but those tractors have gotten a lot better, and those practices have gotten a lot better. And we are constantly we're the custodians of the land. It's our job to make sure that land is we're not just reaping all the benefits, but we're giving back to that land. And I feel like there's a lot of people that think that we're just, taking advantage of what we have.
On that subject, because you're in the age bracket of people that want to save the world.
Yes.
So everything is about sustainability and not eating this and eating that and all this kind of thing. So from your experience with your videos and stuff that you've done, because we all know that there's diesel tractors on farms. Everything can't be electric. It's what is your personal take and what you've seen from people regarding this whole sustainability movement that's going on in agriculture?
I think people forget a lot of times scalability. Yes, on their backyard tree, they might be able to take all these extra measures and really evaluate each piece of fruit, and we take care of every fly and butterfly that comes along. But we're dealing with thousands of trees, hundreds of thousands of trees, and we cannot keep up with the amount of nutrients those trees pull out of the ground unless we're taking measures to give back to that land or protecting those trees. And a discussion that we had this last weekend, because I got to visit a few different apple farms up in the northern part of Switzerland, and it was interesting because this farmer spoke very little English, but my friend was translating, and he was saying that yes, organic is good, but people have to remember that as a human, if you're sick, you get medicine or you have that tea that you take, and the same thing needs to be done for the trees. If you're not adding, if you're not giving them their medicine, they're going to suffer. And just relaying that message, and it's really easy to just take out your frustration on these people who have, like, are misinformed. But sometimes I have to be like take a deep breath. I know they're mad at us, but like, let's respond in a positive way. Even if that person directly, because that's the thing about social media, is you can respond to these questions publicly. Even if that person, their mind doesn't change, you might change 50 other people's minds.
Yes.
True.
And it's that conversation, it's that back and forth. I'm trying to think of what else. I guess that's basically my thoughts on that.
Thank you. That's a very good answer. And one of the things that we've kind of got to from a lot of growers is that, yes, everybody's chasing sustainability. It's a buzzword at the moment, and people want you to look after the environment. They want you to look after, use solar energy, do everything. But economic sustainability is the most important. And if you don't have that in place, you can do nothing else.
Nail on the head. That's exactly a conversation that Dad and I have talked about. Everyone loves that word, sustainability. And my dad, just being a true farmer, and this is his 32nd crop, he says sustainability is keeping me in business.
Absolutely.
Because bottom line is we provide jobs for 60 people during the year. That's 60 different families. That is a community in itself. We're also we're the caretakers for these trees that produce a lot of good things for the world. So us keeping that land, and we truly care about that land. That's why I believe in truly supporting family farms, that land is not just a piece of land to them. That's where they, drove their first pickup. That's where they, that's their favorite thinking spot, because those are all things that are true for me. It's not just a way to make money. This is where I live.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. And if you're wanting to keep it in business, you will be looking after it. So it is an obvious move to make. You're not going to be destroying it by treating it badly. It is in your very best interest to look after it. So that's what farmers do anyway, before people start asking these questions.
Well, I think the UK had a very big eye-opener last month, because there was no produce on the shelves. There's no food. So there's no tomatoes on the shelf. Where are you going to get a tomato? It's just...
Exactly. And it's very true. Like, so I think people forget that, like, we don't have a commute to our job so much. It's kind of right out of our front door. So any of these chemicals that are being sprayed or applied to these trees, us, the farmers' kids, we were the guinea pigs for any of that, because, like, we're the closest ones to it, So if any of these farmers figured, okay, I'm going to spray this, like, we don't care about people, like, we're just going to we're going to do whatever makes us more money. That is absolutely not the case, because they have to thoroughly look into this. They don't realize how measured out things are. You have meetings about what you're going to apply to these trees, because first of all, the stuff's expensive. You don't want to be wasting your money on stuff. And then you have to look at how it works with whatever else is going on. Like, we're very conscious during bloom season to not spray certain things, because we want to make sure those bees are okay. We want to make sure our flowers are okay, because those are all really important things to us.
Yes. And on the subject of bees, do you guys rent in hives? Do you have your own hives? How does it work with you?
We try to stay local and work with local beehive, like the guys that will bring in bees. And then we also try to like, sometimes we just like won't mow so much, so we get a lot of clover that comes up and brings in a lot of that bee activity and create a nice environment for them. So we're always trying to look into that. Maybe eventually we'll move into like more vertical integration of having our own beehives, but so far none of us kids have taken interest into that. So I think we're just going to continue to hire.
I think you need to be brave to be into bees. It is what it is. Obviously they're very special, but it's not for the faint-hearted. Let's put it that way.
No, absolutely not. I've
got a friend of mine who's a beekeeper, and the story is always fun to listen to.
Oh my goodness, I can only imagine.
We've got 2 podcasts coming up soon, hopefully. One with one of South Africa's, well, he's the only South African bee specialist that's employed by our government at the moment.
Really?
Fascinating conversation. And then another people who's doing active studying on bees as to how to use bees better. Are they really cross-pollinating between Granny Smith and Cripps apples, for instance? Are they really doing that? That's the question. And they've developed ways where they can coat the bee in a very fine powder. And they did this with UV, and they went at night and looked at all the trees to see if the bees actually went to the flowers. And,
it's very cool.
Yeah, so they've designed this whole thing so that as the bee goes out, it gets coated in the powder.
To see where it went, so that you can track whether the bees are doing what you hope they do. It's very interesting.
This is stuff that's so cool that is happening
cool.
all the time in agriculture, and people don't talk about it enough.
No, exactly.
And one of the things what they're going to do is some of those chemicals that you need to put onto blossoms early on in the stage, they're going to actually get it deposited by the bees, because they're going right to the flower. Something like, for instance, blueberries, you can't spray inside, but the bee crawls inside. So it's going to deposit the stuff for fungicides right in there.
That's so cool. Yeah, because we have some blueberries and they are very like close.
Yes.
Wow.
It's very interesting. Extremely interesting. Did you want to ask her a question about our last one?
Yeah, we coming up to an hour, which goes by quickly.
Yeah. You guys have been super fun to talk to, and I appreciate learning.
Great stuff. Well, we hope it's just the first time. We hope we'll chat to you again.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Good.
Maybe next time it'll be in South Africa.
Indeed. We have a fun tradition which just connects our different guests on our podcast with each other, so that we ask the previous guest a question, just a random question.
The previous guest asked a question for the next guest.
Yes.
And it's not going to go out in sequence as we recorded it, so it could be.
So here's our question for you. We'll ask you one for the next person as well.
Okay, so, well, the question is very straightforward. They work with blueberries. So his question was, how do you like or consume your blueberries?
Well, I was fortunate to grow up like with some blueberry bushes right outside of my house. And so I always, just from my basic experience, so like when I'm in the store and I'm looking at blueberries, because I love blueberries, and actually my friend from South Africa taught me to freeze the blueberries, because it's a really fun, healthy snack, and it's like I feel like I'm eating ice cream, but I'm not. It's like a good little healthy snack. But I always
that's a cool idea.
That's the only way. Well, you've been in the industry far longer. That's the only way that South Africans knew blueberries.
Until about 15, 20 years ago, There were no fresh blueberries here. You could only buy frozen ones. And the blueberry industry, because of the new genetics and the fact that you can grow them in a warmer climate, have taken off worldwide. And South Africa has become one of the biggest international blueberry producers in the world. So we've learned all about blueberries up close and personal, and we love them. So how do you consume your blueberries? Frozen, straight off the bush?
I straight off in the bush and frozen, but like in the store, I always like check under a couple to see like how ripe they are, because I know like a fully blue blueberry is good. Right where like it comes off of the stem there at the bush, you can tell like if it's a little bit light around there.
The shoulders.
Yes. Okay. So I like deeply sweet blueberries. So I look for like that full color.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Fantastic.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
We also enjoy them in our gin and tonic over here.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Or a mojito. Yeah.
Yeah. That's something I couldn't find in the States, was a good gin and tonic or coffee. Couldn't find good coffee. No.
I can't. You got to come to Washington State. Okay. We're very serious about our coffee.
Okay. Yeah, because Seattle, Starbucks was born there in Seattle.
Yeah, Starbucks is nice for a little pinch, but like even in my small town, like I don't even have a stoplight in my town. It's like about 1,100 people. We have 3 coffee stands.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's a necessity for us.
And is it good coffee? Like good coffee?
Yeah, it's really good coffee.
Because in the whole of California, when we were there for 2 weeks, I didn't have one single cup of good coffee.
We'll have to come to Washington.
Yeah, you got to come to Washington. We're very serious. So
aren't you going to? You was going to Canada?
Yeah. Washington. That's not quite Washington, on the other side of the border.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think we've had such a lovely chat.
Yes.
Is there something you'd like to wrap up with, a message for people? And
we're gonna say goodbye, but not goodbye. I want to keep you on for a minute or two. I just want to ask you something, and you need to give us a question for the next guy.
Okay, absolutely. So as a wrap, is there anything you'd like to say to our listeners?
Well, I don't know how involved the listeners are in agriculture. If you're not involved in agriculture, keep an open mind. If you're involved in agriculture, thank you. We need you.
Yes.
And you're contributing in more ways than you think. Keep networking. I think that's one of the strongest things that we can do as this new generation of agriculture. We have access to networking and keep doing that. I think more farmers need to be on LinkedIn. I think more farmers need to reach out to each other, and it's instead of what we call gatekeeping, we need to have consistency across eating experiences for consumers, and that comes from talking amongst each other.
Yeah,
indeed. Thank you. That certainly is a very wise comment.
Okay.
Thank you. I mean, I'm 20. I don't know that much, but
sounded very good to me.
You know more than probably half the 20-year-olds in your group combined together about agriculture. So it's good.
Oh, thank you.
Enjoy your time in Switzerland. It's an incredible opportunity. And what you said earlier about a comfort zone, I remember somebody saying to me, a comfort zone's a wonderful thing, but nothing ever grows there. So clearly you're in Switzerland and you're growing. So well done.
Trying. Thank you so much. I do have my question, by the way.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay, we'll say goodbye and ask you once we're off air.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.